Hey there gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Co channel, and today we have a preview of Pandamonium. Hey there gamers, it's Professor Meg here, and welcome back to the Board Game Co channel. Today we have a preview of Pandamonium. Thank you to Zandow Games for sponsoring this video, and this is a prototype copy, so everything you see in front of you is all rules, components, and things like that subject to change. But that being said, there is a current campaign on Kickstarter live, so you can check out the link down below to see the current campaign and everything that they have planned. Now with that, we are going to get into Pandamonium, but before we get started, I do want to let you know that there is also going to be a gameplay on the channel. So if you'd like to see a gameplay of exactly how this game works and with AP present, you'll be able to check that out as well. Now in Pandamonium, players are going to be simultaneously drafting cards over the course of 4 rounds. You're going to have 7 cards that you are drafting throughout each round, and then after that, after the course of 4 rounds, you're trying to bribe these different Panda Overlords for the most favor possible. The most amount of pandas that you're able to bribe, the player that's able to do the most will win the game, and if there is a tiebreaker, there's a little bit of a hierarchy depending on the tier that you chose to play with. Now, currently you have set up in front of you a 4-player game, and we're currently in round 2. Now that's going to be important later when I go over some of the abilities to show you examples, but as I noted what tier we are playing with, we are currently playing with the royalty tier. Now, if there is a tied number of favor among players at the end of this game, after the 4 rounds, then this is what our tiebreaker would be for priority order of which pandas are most important, and that is how the cards are currently set up for you as well. Another thing that this is going to tell you is the starting player for the first round, which is going to be the eldest player, but then after that on future rounds, whichever player has the least favor tokens from the different pandas will be the first player. There are some tiebreakers and things like that, and also note that for different player counts, you would set up the game slightly differently, but there is a token of favor, one for each player. So for each panda, there are 4 tokens available for players to be able to collect, and there are going to be different ways that you are collecting these tokens. Some players are going to be able to collect quite a few from the hands that they're able to play, but as we go through the different card abilities, some players are going to be shut out from winning the favor from these different pandas. Now, before I get into the nuances of Pandamonium, this is going to be a closed drafting game. So there are 4 rounds and players are going to have 7 cards, and you do have an option of discarding your final card instead. But that being said, players are going to have 7 rounds in which they look at the hand of cards available to them. They will all choose a card and then simultaneously reveal the card shown and then apply any necessary effects. After that, players are going to pass their hand depending on the Pandamonium card, which is something that's going to add a bit of changes to the game, but in general, players are going to be drafting these cards all around until all 7 cards are gone. So now that you know the general pace of play of how the drafting is going to work, with each round starting with players having 7 new cards in their hand, I'm going to go over how Pandamonium is going to work. So with the cards that you are drafting, each of these are going to have different abilities available, and all of these different Panda Lords want different things. So for example, the coin one here is going to want to be bribed at the end of the round. So the player with the most coins is going to gain his favor. So you can see that this player here is the one that gained his favor, and the other ones are able to hold on to their coins for future rounds. However, this player would be able to have the most coins again this round and be able to win that panda's favor a second time. Now we have also here the Lotus Maiden, and for the Lotus Maiden, she's very unique where she is going to score immediately with her favor to the first player to have 3 Lotus tokens. So normally when players are simultaneously revealing their tribute cards, you would then take the token and place it onto that card. When you have 3 of these Lotus tokens, you're able to immediately take that card, and you can see that this player over here did that in the first round. Now once that happens, no one else is able to do it, and this card would then be put sideways to show that she has already been taken for the round. But another thing that players are able to do is roll over these tokens to future rounds. So you can see that this player over here already has 3 of the Lotus tokens set up, meaning that they will be able to claim this before any players are able to play future Lotus tokens to try to keep up. But that's also a good future plan for both of these players here because they already have 2. So this round they may still try to go for those, hoping to be able to get her in the 3rd round. Now we're going to go over the Pandamonium cards in a bit, but some of these will be able to do things such as make her available again. But again, she's she's only limited to the 4 tokens here set up at the beginning of the game. So even if you are able to refresh her and multiple players can claim her in one round, you are still limited to the number of favor tokens available. Now, the next panda is going to be the Bamboo Princess, and she just wants to eat bamboo. So she would require players to have 6 bamboo at the end of the round, and multiple players are able to claim this. So this, again, is one that could be emptied potentially by the time you reach the 4th round, but players will be able to cash into their 6 bamboo to be able to claim this, showing that this player over here already has 4 and may be wanting to move toward that. Now, the next one is going to be the Jade Oracle, and the Jade Oracle is going to want these dragon tokens. Now, they are going to want the one with the most of them, and all other players must discard them back to the bank. So this is one at the end of the round, all players' tokens, no matter how close they got or how many they were able to accumulate, if they were not the one to take the favor at the end of the round, they would still have to place them all back here. Now, this is a good time to note that if any of these reserves are ever empty, all players must return all tokens of that type back to the pile. So, for example, if this pile were to completely empty, all players would have to pass them back in before future ones were taken. Now, next here, we have the Flame Warlord, and this one is going to be the one with the Terracotta Army. You're going to be able to gain these Terracotta Army tokens quite a bit differently throughout the round. Now, when players choose to play that card, they're going to be able to gain for that many that are showing. So if this player were to choose to play this card, they would be able to gain those 3 soldiers. However, if any other players played soldiers during that turn as well, they would battle instead. So for example, if this player over here were to also play a Terracotta Army, they would battle, and whichever player had the most would then win. And I'm sorry, I actually read that a bit too quickly, but this one is actually 5, whereas this one is 3. So if both of these players played this round, this current player would be the one to win for this, and this player would be forced to discard their card without gaining any of the benefits. Now, players would gain favor with this panda by spending 10 of those terracotta soldiers. So currently this player would gain 5, which is absolutely great, but at the end of the round they are able to pay in 10 to gain a favor, and again, multiple players are able to do this at the end of the round, which is why you would go in turn order, because if you do run out of the favor in future rounds, it would matter whose turn comes first. Now, finally, we have both of these. They do not start and play at the beginning of the game. So the game is over the course of 4 rounds, and as many of these can be taken by multiple players in one round, you do have options to be able to open up other bears to be able to gain their favor in future rounds. So you have your Moon Barbarian here, which adds honeypots to the deck. They've already been shuffled in for our round 2. I believe you may be able to see one here. So this is what they would look like, but normally these would not be shuffled in until round 2, and the player that has the most at the end of the turn is able to turn them in for a favor with the Moon Barbarian. However, players are able to hold on to these round over round, meaning if they are not the player with the most, they're able to hope to be the player with the most the next round. Now, finally, we have the Polar Berserker, and this is, again, another one that you are all trying to go for just by having the most of the trade goods tokens. So at the end of the round, whoever has the most is able to claim a favor with this bear, and the trade goods are going to be a card that looks like this, because the trade goods will count as a wild in your hand until this bear is unlocked for play. So it can add some flexibility in early rounds, and in late rounds, it's going to allow you to gain this bear for their favor. Now that you know how all of the different bears work and what you are trying to score for it to gain their different favors, something that is going to add a huge twist to Pandamonium is going to be the Pandamonium cards. So these players already went through the first round, and you can see that there are some cards here, but this is going to be drawn every round to determine what's going to happen when the cards are played. So this is knowledge that you would have before choosing which card you choose to play, but for example, something that would be a bit easy is play 1 tribute card, pass hand on. So you do have your marker here to show you which way you are passing your hand, and this one is play one tribute card, pass your hand on. So these players would all play one card. As I noted, this one would play this one and lose, this one would play this one and win, this one would gain a honeypot token, and this one would gain 3 bamboo because they're trying to work toward 6 to feed the princess. So to represent that, you would put the tokens on the cards because they are not banked until the end of the turn, or at the end of the round. At the end of the round, you do move them off cards and they are no longer able to be messed with. However, certain Pandamonium cards will allow you to affect tokens on players' cards, and then this one would receive the 5 soldiers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the hands would be distributed to be moved clockwise. But then a future Pandemonium card that may happen is Terracotta Warriors do not fight this turn, play 3 tribute cards, pass hand on. So this is one where the Terracotta Warriors would not fight, so if you were to play them this round, all players would keep the ones that they have, and you would gain tokens representative of the number that you played, but you are also playing 3 tribute cards, so that's where you can see that it can really change what you are able to select from the different hands and what you are passing on. This is a drafting game where the rules are going to change every single time you draft, so it's really going to matter what happens with these cards, and you're going to have to pay attention, and you're also going to want to choose cards that are advantageous for you, but you're also not going to want to pass something to your opponent that's going to set them up for success. So another example of a Pandemonium card would be, if you play a honeypot this turn, collect 1 additional honeypot tribute token, play 2 tribute cards, pass hand on. So if this player had gotten that during the first round, they would have 2 honeypot tokens instead, and they would still be able to play 2 tribute cards. Now, Pandemonium is simultaneous drafting, meaning that all of this is going to be pretty fast-paced, and everyone is getting a turn every turn. It's going to go pretty quickly, and you're going to be able to pay attention to everything that you're doing, and there's very little downtime. But that being said, the rules are going to change literally every time that you draft. These Pandemonium cards are going to continue to happen, and you're not going to know what to anticipate and how many tribute cards you might be playing. So you're constantly going to have to adapt to the game, and also trying to think out what you're giving your opponent, because you don't want to give them exactly the thing that they're hoping for. For example, if they're going for the Lotus Maiden and they already have 2 Lotuses, you don't want to hand them a Lotus or a trade good if it's still wild at the time, because that's just going to set them up for success. Now, after all cards are played for the round, after going through a Pandemonium card every time, players will then assess the current state of what they're able to collect. For example, if this player over here had collected 2 more bamboo, they would be able to take this favor token, and so forth and so on, that different players will be able to collect those. For example, this player may be able to collect this token, and after the end of 4 rounds, you will assess this tier here. So you'll see how many are collected, and if one player has the most, they will win straight out. However, if they are tied with another player, you'll refer to this to see who got closest to the number 1 to see who won, and if players exactly tie, it's a tie game and everybody wins. Now, the tiers are going to change every time, not only with which bears are in which order that you are trying to earn their favor, but you are also going to have the starting player change. So that will be a little bit of variation throughout the game, but as you can see, because these ones are the first in priority order, this is going to be the most important favor to gain, because that will be your tiebreaker at the end of the game. So players are going to be working toward gaining favor from this side of the board going this way, but as I said, some of them are going to start to empty out, and then you'll want additional favor to be your tiebreaker as well, hoping that you can get more favor than your opponents. Pandemonium is going to be a lightweight drafting game where players are going to have simultaneous turns, making the game feel pretty fast-paced but also engaged the entire time. This is going to be a game for 3 to 6 players where you're doing a certain set collection, but you are also adapting to the different rules that are changing constantly throughout the game. Having the limited number of rounds also has the game ending at a certain sweet point where nothing gets a bit too crazy and players are able to all work towards different victories and finding different favors throughout the pandas. Now, I also enjoy that the tokens are able to roll over round, depending on the favor that you were going for. Some of them don't, but some of them do, meaning that you can plan for future turns, but some things you have to give all or nothing. Now, if you'd like to see exactly how this game plays, you can see a gameplay on the channel between me, Alex, and AP in the future, so be sure to check that out. And you can find the Kickstarter link down below for everything that they have planned. This has been a preview for Pandemonium. I've been Professor Meg, and thank you all for watching the Board Game Code channel. I'll see you next time. Bye!